was I want to maybe have a conversation of what we are discussing with our buyers and our sellers right now, because the interest rates, have gone up. So, and listening to the news and or depending upon which economist you follow, because there's a quadrillion of them. The rates are expected to go up, much higher. For how long or whatever, who knows? But it appears that they're trying to cool off. They say they're trying to cool off inflation. It sounds like they're trying to cool off the real estate market a little bit. That seems to be going hand in hand right now. So I guess my first question, has anybody experienced, say, any of your current clients, or excuse me, after what I should say is, what are you telling your current clients that maybe they've already been pre-approved, and maybe you're already showing them houses right now, and unfortunately, they haven't been able to secure anything. And when you started working with them, the interest rates was like 2.25%, and now they're at 5%. What type of conversations are you having with those buyers and or anything? So, Mike, I know I can always pick on you, so I'll pick on you first. Get your opinion. What kind of conversations are you having with your clients right now?
Well, it's really just a real candid conversation. As times are changing and interest rates are going up, obviously, we know that your purchasing power has decreased a little bit. Your payments, as you can see, as we mentioned earlier, some people's payments have gone up almost $500 a month if you were going to get a loan. So really, that's something we have to take into consideration as we're going to continue buying. So if people want to back off, if you're thinking that you want to back off and slow down and maybe not look at a house for now, we don't necessarily know the direction that's going to keep going, but if it does keep going up, you're going to keep pricing yourself out. If it goes back down, right, this is why I tell people it's still a perfect time for you to buy, because if the interest rates go back down, you're going to be able to refinance. If the prices stay stable where they're at and the interest rates go up, or the prices even come down a little bit and the interest rates keep going up, you're still going to end up with a higher monthly payment. So if you're looking, let's adjust maybe what you're looking for. If we have to adjust to make sure that we're in the right range, we're finding you the right property, but I think it's still the greatest time to just go ahead and purchase at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Said Chris, since you brought it up the first time, what is your procedure right now? What are you telling your clients or your buyers?
Well, the two families that I'm working with, of course, they brought it up that their monthly payment is sticker shock, and they asked me what I believe is going to happen in the marketplace, and I told them for the time being, short term, I still see property values going up just because the inventory is so low. However, in the long term, if we start to see more listings come on the market and interest rates continue to rise, it's just my opinion that I believe we're going to see home prices come down. So It's just the affordability factors where people feel comfortable. So the two families that I'm working with, I told them, well, I understand, because both of them said they just wanted to lay low for a little bit and see what happens with the marketplace. So I was hoping to get some really good feedback from the meeting, and then I could call them this evening and say, well, this is what, our little group has to say.
Sure.
But yeah, that's just my opinion, that I think maybe home prices, instead of home prices falling, we're going to start to see the buyers asking for some closing costs, some credit with closing costs. And I think that will be the first sign that we're going to see the market values decline. So
those are all good points. I think so. One of the things that I'm doing is with I think that a lot of the buyers hear that the interest rates are going up, but they don't really understand what that means, and they don't really understand what it means and affecting their affordability, like Chris was mentioning. So one of the things that I'm doing, and going back to clients that we have that are already in the market, is to actually ask them, when was the last time that you spoke with the lender regarding your pre-qualifications, your pre-approvals? Because interest rates have gone up, I'm telling them that it is imperative that they still stay in consistent communication with their loan rep. And if hopefully the loan representative they're using is one that Pilar and I are suggesting. And if not, if they're using their own representation, is asking them to stay in good touch with them, because some of the lenders are, some of the lenders now are back to the point to where they are suggesting ARMs. They're suggesting adjustable rate mortgages again, or even if they're short term, 5-7 years, whatever the case may be. But I don't want to suggest anything like that to them. I want them to have those conversations with the mortgage professional, so that the mortgage professional can talk to them and kind of give them numbers, give them options where they can make a decision on what they decide to do. Now, one of the things that I've been seeing and been saying to people is that, hey, when the interest rates started to rise, there were a lot of people, a lot of economists, whatever, who were thinking that the market would actually cool off and would cool off quickly. So what I've been seeing, though, I don't know if you guys are saying this, but it appears to me that the market got, at least for short term, it got even worse for the buyers, because what I'm seeing is that people that were either on the fence, or they were taking their time, or they weren't, quote unquote, settling for something, they're like jumping in because they're scared that the rates are going up so quickly, and the inventory obviously is still lower. So they've jumped back in, and it looked like it had slowed for a second. And I know a couple of the properties that we've had listed and what they've sold for and where they're at. And it was like, thinking like, really? It was not what I was expecting. So I'm not sure what they what they're thinking and what they're that. But I'm seeing that. Is anybody else seeing that?
You know what? I've been having my clients get educated with their lenders, because I have like 10 buyers, and I've been putting offers in for the past 5 months. And out of the 5 months, only one of my clients was able to actually purchase. I sold my son's home in October, and they cashed out $280,000, and they still can't find a home without being outbidded. My son he's the type of person that said, I'm not going to be married to a mortgage. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay at this budget. So they've been outbidded. So I'm having him speak with the lender constantly, because now they were approved for 700. Now the homes in the 700 range, when they were approved, are now 8. And he's like not budging to 8. So they're still just sitting here. And I have some clients that have actually backed out because the lender have actually scared them, because they're saying the same thing. I'm not going to pay a mortgage more than $3,500. So it's scary, because a lot of times people are posting things on Facebook, and these buyers are looking at it, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm actually priced out of California. So some of my clients have said, you know what, Sharon, I'm going to pause and wait until the market crash. And I'm like, what are you getting this information if the market is crashing? So it's scary for buyers, because they're confused. So I'm just trying to get some feedback from everyone to see how they're getting their offers accepted without their client have to come in with $50,000 to $80,000 over their asking price. Because I am seeing a lot of homes going back on the market, but the agents are putting them back on the market on the last offer they had received. So I'm like, I have some scary buyers right now, because they're like, Paul, Sharon, and the ones that want to proceed, they had to go ahead and get their purchase power pumped up.
Right.
So how is anyone getting their offers accepted without their clients have to pay so much over the asking?
It's a separate question, to be honest with you, and it's difficult. I think we can all attest that it's difficult, in getting them accepted. So sometimes you have to do some creative things. But one of the first things, though, that I'm telling the buyers is that, as far as the affordability factor, that they need to focus on their monthly payment, meaning that the price of the property that you pay, and for that matter, the interest rate that you receive, are really irrelevant. What's relevant is, can you afford it monthly, and how long do you plan to stay into the property? And then sometimes, I think that stories really help people relate to what's going on in the marketplace, and allows them to sell themselves. Like, for instance, true stories, and that we all have clients that probably should have made offers on particular properties that they didn't at that time because they were thinking they could get something better, or they were thinking that the market was going to crash. I mean, we've been hearing the market was going to crash now for the last 4 or 5 years. And if you're someone that was starting with the market crashing part, say 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, how is that working out right now? Where, 4 or 5 years ago, that property you could have picked up for 500, now it's 650, 700, 750. How much money have you cost yourself in equity by not making that move at that particular time? I always tell people that the price of the home is not as important as long as they can afford it monthly, because it's all monopoly money until you're ready to do something with it. If you're going to refinance, if you're looking to sell it, that's when all that stuff matters. But what really matters is if you can afford it monthly. I also am being reminded, and I'm going to do a couple of more videos to our database about this, is that it's not as if the rents are less now. There's still less places for them to rent, and the rents are almost as high as the mortgage payments, even with the interest rates going up. So, I kind of like to talk to them about, are you building a legacy for yourself, or are you building a legacy for the person that you're renting for? Is that we all have to live somewhere, and the decision that we have to make is if it's affordable and we like it. And I think that it's important now to ask the buyers how long they plan on staying in the house, and having a real honest conversation with them about that. So I'll tell buyers, so let's say you're struggling to get into this property. If you're struggling to get into it and you're saying, well, 6 months from now, I should be able to refinance or do whatever. If I can't make it, I'll just sell it. In my opinion, I'm telling those buyers that they probably shouldn't purchase, or at least purchase that. They need to adjust the area they want to live. They need to adjust something, because we all know, we never know when the market is going to abruptly have issues. Because whenever it's like, quote unquote, really started to have issues, we don't necessarily automatically get a crash in price. What we'll tend to do is there'll be more inventory that'll come on the market, and then the prices may stay stagnant, maybe a small a drop in price and an inventory increase. But if you buy on the back end and you buying in anticipating that you're going to be able to refinance it and you can't, now all of a sudden you kind of fall into that short sale possible category if you are really in distress. So what I'm telling people is that they need to look at what their timeline is. And if their timeline says, well, we're probably going to be here 6 or 7 years or so, or whatever, and they can afford it monthly, that person I'm still trying to encourage to purchase, assuming, of course, that they can afford it monthly. And if they cannot afford it monthly or something like that, then, some people are going to have to back out. But I think that there's some different solutions, that you can help. I get what Chris was saying too in regards to the, whether or not the values, will catch up and the market, crashes. I'm not in the camp that the market is going to crash. I am in the camp though that there are going to be some adjustments, and there'll be some corrections, and it'll be between the forbearances, between other stuff coming on the market. You already started. There's we've got a couple of properties in escrow now that they're standard sales, but they are distressed sales. The people can't make the payments. One of them has an NOD, but they happen to have a couple $100,000 of equity. But they don't. If you can't make your payment, it's distress to you. You're just able to get out of it. I don't know that the property value will come down far enough in correlation with the interest rates going up to where the affordability per month is going to be any different. Because we all know that if the interest rate goes up 1%, or it goes up 1.5%, for the buyers to keep that same payment. I mean, what, you know, $500,000 house has to drop to like 450 like tomorrow. You know, I don't necessarily know that it'll be an even, that'll be an even type of a correction in that manner. And then when that happens, you have to factor in, okay, you're still renting, and because you're still renting, you're still missing out on equity. And you know, does it all really matter if the property value comes down 100 grand? Your interest rate though goes up, you know, from 2.25% to 5%, and your payment, you know, is the same or higher, you know, depending upon what the interest rate is. So that's how I'm approaching it. Hey, Stacy, what are you doing? What kind of conversations are you having?
Okay, hi. I've been a little slow on the buyers because I was just never of the opinion of paying that much money over. I never had clients that could. My background is 25 years as a lender. So I finally 44 years later went into a real estate position only, except that I have all that knowledge. So I am working with a buyer right now currently. Fortunately, yes, I think he's coming into the ball game, kind of hearing things are changing. So our conversations are about the payment, not about the interest rate. He's a first-time buyer. He's a money guy, so he likes numbers. So conversation we had on Apple News yesterday, they posted about you can't chase the market. So this is kind of deja vu for me since 1994 when I got my license. I was licensed the month of the earthquake. We had the earthquake, and then people bought a house 3 days later, right where the freeway fell in Granada Hills. So I've been there. So stories, okay, I know stories sell. So I'm still an old chick learning. So I proceeded to tell him that my first interest rate, I was fighting for 10.25%, and we've been through the market, owning 3 homes, you know, and various things in my background, that you never know what's going to happen. So what the Apple article said yesterday is now it's kind of like family obligation, family needs. That's where we are. You can't chase the market because it is an inverse effect. And by interest rates going up and things stabilizing, we're trying to fight off inflation, which of course we can't go there. But you can't win if you don't play. So you just stay in the game and, you know, see what makes sense. And it's numbers, because when I first met this gentleman, he was very skeptical. He didn't tell me a lot of information. He gave me numbers. And so what I was able to do with what he gave me before I referred him to a lender, because today's world is send me your stuff and we'll talk about it later. Well, a lot of people kind of want to know up front. So I took his information. He says, well, I can send you. I said, no, I don't need anything. I'm not the lender, but just let me look at the numbers, look at the inventory, which is why I called you, Michael, because I'm not finding a lot of inventory in his so far requested price range. I know he can afford more. So anyways, it's until you put it on paper, you can talk all day long, but until it goes on paper. And when I kind of picked a price range and did the numbers, it was exactly what he said he was paying in school tuition and rent. So that's why he wanted to move to Santa Clarita to a better school district. And so once I saw that it made sense, and then, you know, skirting the PMI issue, you know, that's something else, but I was able to, you know, put him at ease with that. That's an enabler. But yeah, I like to do the numbers. So you were right in the beginning. You have to hear what the people are saying. And what I listened to what he said, and I was so happy because he told the people that referred him, she's the first person I've ever talked to that basically answered, would do the numbers and not just say, oh, sure, send me my stuff and you can, you know, we'll do it. She listened. And I was really happy about that accomplishment because I'm such a talker. So.
No, you know what? A couple of things that you said that I think that we all can pick up on if we don't forget is that you really fact find it with that particular client, and then after you fact find, then you're able to come up and work toward a solution. I think that in particularly in the marketplace, and the market does begin to shift a little bit, is that we have to find more solutions. And I think that we probably have to isolate each one of our clients and do just like you did as far as fact find more, and we may have to re-fact find with them because things are changing, So I think that one of the biggest factors that we tend to not utilize with both buyers and sellers that we are going to have to begin to do more on is their motivation, what their motivation is, their motive, and then remind them of what they tell us their motivation is. Sometimes they have to be reminded because we all can get stuck in whatever our particular perception is. I know, like Sharon, you had mentioned, about your son and where he wants to be at monthly payment wise. And since he's family, he's going to probably be a little bit more stubborn than if he were not, So sometimes, you almost have to is get them back into the mode of why they want to do this in the beginning anyway, and not to flip away from the buyers, but I think that we have to have some real conversations with our sellers as well, because now you are starting to see that the sellers, they may not necessarily just have to come down necessarily on their price, but one of the things Chris mentioned, and there are going to be some situations where they do have to be a little bit more flexible if they want to get their home sold. Now we're gonna have pockets and price ranges, and we're gonna have some stuff, and they're still gonna get, we just had one, and we listed at $899, it sold it at $955, and they removed everything in the world to do and to close it, and it closed as smoothly as possible. Now we have one it's at $719. We put in escrow at $746. But guess what? The appraiser came in and the appraiser asked for a whole bunch of stuff to be repaired on the property, even though it was as is, et cetera, et cetera. And the seller didn't have the money to do it. So guess what? The buyer came in and did the work. The seller gave a concession. Seller gave a concession to the buyer because the work has to be done ahead of time. Matter of fact, that's that house, Michael, you helped me out on. So the buyers came in, did the work that they had to do so that the appraiser would come out on a re-inspect, because he cut the value and made us do some stuff. Fortunately for my seller, the buyers had removed their appraisal contingency, but they came in, did some of their own work. They got the $10,000 credit, which they didn't have before. So now, and they beat out multiple offers. They weren't our highest offer. My seller liked them best. They liked their letter and all of that. And I think that now I'm staying at those with our sellers in some of these situations we're going to get back to being problem solvers. It's not going to just be on the buyers, because one of the things, and Chris was saying this though, which is very true, is that if the sellers want to sell and these interest rates keep going up, even if the inventory is short, our buying pool is going to be short as well, because there's still going to be that, I don't forget if it was Chris or Michael, whichever one of you guys mentioned, when your payment that you were expecting to pay is about to go up $500 a month, that's not jump change. That's a lot, especially when you're already paying a lot of money to begin with. That is going to price a lot of people out of the market. And that means that some of these sellers are going to be, if nothing else, they're going to get less offers than what they've been getting. They may not get their list price, at least initially, or they may be, they may have to sit and do something that none of them have never heard about. They might have to actually do a price reduction. Go ahead, Laura.
I think what all of this boils down to, with all of the responses that everyone has given today, boils down to the fact that not only the buyers, but the sellers all have to learn flexibility. And as real estate professionals, it's our job to have those sometimes difficult conversations with these sellers and buyers. What I've found that I've been having to do is be the calm person involved, because it's hysterics that's out there in the news. Their friends are telling their family, everybody, oh my God, the real estate market is just going crazy, all of that. So it's our job to make sure to let everyone know. we see the flashlight, Michael. It's our job to let everyone to keep everyone calm in the situation, so that there isn't this mass hysteria that is easy for these buyers especially to find themselves in. I have a new buyer that decided to take a year off and come back, and they just came back and they're like, whoa, yeah, like, yeah, you should have bought last year, you'd have saved yourself $100,000 minimum. But so they're back, and so now it's like, it's my job to say, look, you're gonna be okay. Again, like I think Elgin, you mentioned about paying more attention to the mortgage payment. So it's like, yeah, maybe you can't afford what you thought you could afford before, but as long as we focus on your mortgage payment and we look at houses within that price range, you're still good. You still should forge forward, because you know, if things continue the way they are, the interest rate's going to continue to rise. You're going to continue to price yourself out of the market. So what better time to be serious and move forward now than any. So and on a second note, also when you're mentioning about talking to the sellers, that's something that I think is very important as well. We're all in this together, sellers, buyers, agents. The sellers need to be on board with what's going on. You know, they don't need to only be looking at what the highest price is that they can get for their home. They also need to understand buyers are getting priced out. Do you want to sell your home? If that's your bottom line objective, let's do everything we can as a to collaborate and get that all done by knowing that, yeah, you might not get 50,000 over list, but if you get your list price or 20,000 over or something, you're still winning, you know? And so with that being said, I just feel like as real estate professionals, yes, it is definitely our responsibility to have these conversations, and so that we make sure that our clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, are as knowledgeable about the current market as possible.
So you can see she's the calm one of the two of us, right? Between the buyers and the sellers, she holds hands a lot better than I do. Hey, you know, flipping. Since we're talking about buyers, I'll tell you something I'm hearing more of, and I know it's been out there. I know a lot of people have been dealing with it, but let me ask you guys if you're seeing this and how you are responding to it. But I'm hearing more and more of buyers asking their realtors to basically kick back a part of their commission to them. Is anybody else experiencing this, hearing this? And if so, jump in real quick and tell me what your responses are to that.
I haven't heard it. Personally, I haven't heard that.
Well, good.
I almost try to have that conversation before it comes about, you know. Right. Making a point, and every situation is different, but making a point of saying something along the line so that the buyer knows not to even ask me that, you know. And again, every conversation is different, but I had someone just recently that I could tell they were on the verge of asking for some type of kickback because they felt that they were spending more than they had anticipated because our appraisal didn't come back at the sales price. And, you know, there was a lot of complaining about, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and, you know, so forth and so on. And I made it clear, yeah, I understand, you know, when a price comes in lower, it comes in lower across the board. We're all getting less. And, you know, the amount of work we're having to do in this type of market, and especially in a situation when a appraisal comes back lower, we're really having to take the gloves off to figure out how to make it all happen. So I understand, but yeah, I try to just give the impression that that's not a conversation we should have. So I don't know if it's smart to do it that way, but it seems to work 9 times out of 10 for me.
Well, the flip side of that too then is good if you guys aren't experiencing it. And I just say no and laugh and and stuff like that. And say, no, I'm not giving you my money. I'll give you. I didn't ask you for none of your money. I'll do something. I'll do something comical, and then I'll go deeper with it if it consists. Well, so what are you doing on the seller side? Your sellers now you're listing the house, or your sellers telling you that they right now the houses sell themselves, and we don't really need to pay you whatever your commission rate is. We only want to pay X amount. What do you do? How many of you guys actually fight for your commission, or do you just say just take it at whatever rate? And there's no judgment either for me, by the way, what's right or what's wrong. However you're doing your business. But if you run into that, I'll pick on Chris because I know Chris a long time. I know he don't like to give up none of his money. And Chris and I've been knowing each other forever. We've sat next to each other and worked and like cold called and worked expireds and stuff like together. So we kind of know what each other says. So, but Chris, I'm gonna put it out there for you. What do you say? Because I know you're hearing it. What do you say when they start wanting you to reduce your commission?
It depends really on the client. So based on the client, a lot of times I'll just say, really honestly, the easy part is selling your house. The hard part is closing the escrow. And that's when the work really begins. And that's when I earn my. Well, that's pretty much right, Tom. If it's a referral, maybe I'll reduce my commission.
Okay.
But otherwise, again, the easy part is getting the home into escrow. The hard part is closing the escrow, because that's when we're going to run into our challenges. And that's when we need to team together and get through any challenges that may arise during the escrow period, because typically there's something that's going to come up. That could be a potential bill killer.
Right. No, that's right. Man, you got soft in your old age. I'm just teasing, man. I'm just teasing. Actually, I think those are good answers. What I've done too is, now this is along the lines of kind of what Pilar was saying, as far as being kind of deal with a problem before it comes up. So years ago, developed what we call, and I'll call it the easy exit plan. So the easy exit plan, your listing is number one, a seller can cancel their listing anytime, unconditionally, not owe the brokerage or me any money prior to accepting an offer. And I explained to them that that's because at that particular point, there's another family and agent, there's people involved, and it's not in my hands. Then I will tell them that if we sell the home ourselves, where we do not have to split the commission with another brokerage, we'll reduce the commission to X amount. And that depends upon how I feel is what X amount is. X amount is never lower than 4. Most of the time it's 4.5. Okay. And a lot of times just in doing that, that breaks the whole, when they ask me, they start wanting to have a commission conversation. If they really begin to have a commission conversation, then at that particular point, my focus is on value and the value that will bring. I go to the same thing Chris said, as far as the work actually starts after we get an escrow and getting you closed. And then I also ask all of them one particular question. That question is, are you more concerned with how much money you pay me, or are you more concerned with how much your net is? Because you may be able to get someone else, probably will be able to get someone else that's cheaper than I am. I mean, you probably will be. But at the end of the day, what is your net? Can I, if my value is strong enough, I'm going to bring you more money in the end. So if I can bring you more money in the end, are you, is that what you really want? And last but not least, though, because I said that when I was joking to Chris about being old and being softer, because there was a time, I think for both of us, really, when you're in like the Mike Ferry system type stuff, and he's like, my commission rate is 6% or whatever your commission rate is, and if I don't get my exact rate, I'll walk away from the deal. And I over the years, I've changed that philosophy a little bit, and as one thing that Chris said, it depends upon the client and circumstances, what their circumstances are going to be, and to be quite honest, whether I like them or not. Yeah, because and then I'll factor in how long realistically the property's going to probably be on the market, those types of things you factor in. Give an example. I took one. It's not on the market yet, and it's we're going to be at. I think I listed it at 1.2777. All of my listings in 7. So 1.2777, right? And the people actually came to me from another home that we had sold across the street. So they weren't past clients. They weren't somebody else that I know, anything of that nature. They committed to the fact that they thought that I was the agent, or that our team would be the best agency to help them. Well, guess what happened? Well, right around the corner, literally before we had our paperwork signed, another property comes on the market at a similar price, and from an agency that I know, but they do the 1% listing, that which is their business model.
Mm-hmm.
So now, of course, the client comes to me and is like, well, wow, that was it's the 6%, which is what our normal standard rate is, and they're only going to charge us, a 3.5. They're only going to charge us 3.5%, and you kind of feel that they're wavering a little bit. Like, we like you, but I don't know if we like you that much. Right? And what I will standardly do, and I did in this case, and because they are really nice. They're a young couple. I do really like them. Is what I put back into their lap is I'll ask them. I said, so honestly, though, do you think that I'm the agent that can probably get you the most money? Do you feel comfortable with working with me? And we feel really confident. You kind of get them back in that kind of framework. And I said, well, okay, so this is what I can do. I can't do 3.5. I went back over I still at myself, blah, blah, blah part. And I said, what I can do though is I can, and at this particular point, if you're ready to sign the listing agreement with me today, I can reduce it from 6% to 5%. I have to get approval for that. I always say that, even though I don't have to get approval for it, but I tell them I have to get approval for it. But I make it sound like I got to go fight for you to get a lesser commission. Obviously, the fight is internal, but I still have to fight for you. They were so happy because they really wanted to work with us. They were so happy and they told me, well, we feel that you're worth more than the other brokerage, but if we were having a hard time beginning to swallow the difference in what they're charging, because they of course they went to their open house, and the people there offered them this, that's how they knew what their commission rates and stuff were. Signed a contract, no problem. We're not on the market yet, but they're extremely happy. We stayed in touch and all of that, because again, it's a $1.2 million house. So am I going to sit here and be like, I got to have this 6%. I told you it was going to be 6%. Well, I'm going to be bullheaded like that. We're not going to make an adjustment. I'm going to make an adjustment. Everybody's still happy. The commission at 5% on 1.2 is not bad, and you move on, and you move on. There are going to be those times where it'll be. Where you'll get a little bit more commission if you ask for it, especially as times get a little bit tougher. So I do that too. I don't get stuck on. I have a certain business model, and I have certain lines in the sand that I personally are not going to go under. That you have to walk away from it. But I do think that in these days and time, you have to have a little skill level. And if you're really focusing on the fact that you're helping families and not how much money you're making, it's a lot easier sometimes to make those decisions. Okay, that's one more family help, next family, one more family help, next family. So, but the majority of the time, I don't run into the issue as much as some people do. But I think a lot of that has to do with we work on our database a lot. You build your database up, you work your database a lot, and then it doesn't become nearly as much of an issue as it does maybe if you're talking to an expired or a facility owner or something like that. You're gonna fight a little bit more. Anybody else experiencing anything like that?
I was just gonna say, as far as that line, and not necessarily experience it in the front, but to handle expectations as as the escrow is going through and you're dealing with it, is always related to, I say sports. You know, I've played sports my whole life, and I say, you know, and I played soccer. I said, you know what? When you watch soccer game, the best player on the field, you may not even notice because he's keeping everything there. He's always in the right position. So when you feel that, oh, this escrow is going easy, why are we paying so much money? He's not doing anything because nothing's coming up. It's because as an agent, that's what we're trained. We're getting in the right position so you don't have to deal with anything. And then you'll notice when that best player, something comes up and there's some challenge, that best player does something creative and you're like, wow, did you see that? And that's when we have challenges in the escrow, you're going to see something happen. That's when you're going to hear from me and we'll come up with the idea and it'll go through and we'll handle it. We'll make it smooth. But that's what you're seeing. So if the escrow goes really, really smooth and you're like, wow, you didn't do anything, then I did my job really well because you don't see what's in the little black box, you know? And if it's challenging, then you know I did my work because I earned my money because you got to see the work that I'm doing. So that's kind of how I explain it once we dust it and come to it so that the expectations through the escrow. And then as they're building my, you know, as they're my database and my network, if I'm working it, that they're going to continue to grow that way and support it. So.
No, that's good. That I like that. I will tell people, particularly at the beginning, because the one I'll get from that is the house sells really quickly, and they'll be like, "Wow, you're about to make all this money, and you sold the house in a day or whatever." And what I always tell people is that, you know, you're not paying for today. I said there's already been 34 years invested in this business, and that's what you're paying for. That's why your house is selling to this. That's why you're getting that. That's why it's going as smooth as it's going. It's very similar to what you're saying, Michael. I let them know that, you know, there's already been dues paid for you to get the outcome that we're hoping to get. Does anybody else have any? I know we're rounding up to the end of the hour. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to say or they would like to discuss before we head out? And then before we do, I know, Michael, that you're going to have a special presentation for us next Wednesday, and then maybe you can talk a little bit about just a tad bit, or you don't have to give away the whole shop, but a tad bit of what we're going to talk about at the meeting next Wednesday.
All right. Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions or some thoughts? Thoughts on what we've talked about so far? Chris, did we help you out any with?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else before we jump into Michael and jump into that? And also, again, I don't know. Well, like I said, our meeting was a little shy this week, but we're going to keep this thing rolling, and we're going to keep trying to add some value and building this up. We are going to be doing a EXP Explain. We're going to start doing one or two of those. So for you guys that are working on some agent attraction and or just want to come and support, we're going to do both Zooms and we're going to do them in person. There's nothing else to get your skills better with that, so you feel more comfortable in talking to people on the EXP experience and building other revenue streams for your businesses. I think that's important. It's something that I would love to contribute to help each and every person grow. So with that being said, if nobody has anything extra, Bar, go ahead.
Just real quick, I just wanted to say I appreciate everything, all of the input everyone had this week. It's so helpful because this is a rough market that we're in right now, and for us to be able to survive this is something to say in itself. So I appreciate all of that. I'm looking forward to the in-person lunch and learns as well as these Zoom calls as well. And as we continue to grow and each of us bring someone or some 2 or some 10 people with us to those events, it's going to be great. So thank you all for all of your input today.
Cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, it is tough too. Some of you guys, it's a, if you're experiencing success, you don't necessarily, it's easy to forget that there are a lot of our brethren in this business right now are struggling, are really struggling. I mean, we've got some people on our success team that, Yeah, a good friend, one of them, I mean, like just 3 years ago, he was doing like 70 million in business. And right now he's struggling. I mean, struggling. And you're like, whoa, wait, so, so the one thing I'll say about that from the standpoint of being understanding toward that is, is not only count your blessings, but work on your skill level. Every day, do something to build your business. Every day, make sure you're having conversations, especially conversations with people that you've done business with already. And on those days when you start to get knocked down a little bit, on those days when it gets a little bit rougher, it's very good at that point to reach out and call and talk to somebody that loves you, whether it's a family member, whether it's a spouse, whether it is in a lot of times a good person to talk to is a past client that was very happy with you. And when you call them, they'll be happy that you reached out, and all of a sudden they'll begin to talk about the great experience they had with you again. And it makes you remember who you are. It makes you remember why you're doing what you do, and it can sometimes prepare you from that. The guy that hung up on you, the deal that fell apart, the appraisal that came in 60 grand short, all the stuff that we got to go through on an ongoing basis. I keep that in the back of your mind, because I'm surprised when I see and hear of some of the people that I know, and then see that they're not succeeding right now. So just remember that, though. You are succeeding. You're in the game, and we'll be fine. Mike, take it over, man. Tell me about next Wednesday, brother.
So next Wednesday, I'm sure we all have, clients and people that we're talking to that want to know the market, and especially working with sellers. So we're going to go over a couple of tools, and we want to talk about, the best ways to present these tools and how we can present, what the market is, what the values of their houses and everything like that. So we'll cover that. We'll cover some questions, and we're going to really dive deep into one of these special tools that we have that's available to us all. So
Very good.
I think you guys will really, really enjoy it, and it's dynamic. I can say that. So.
Perfect. That means I'm not going to be talking as much. So I'm sure that'll make everybody happy. You can listen to Michael a little bit more than me. Thank everybody, all you guys, for coming and participating. Again, we're going to keep building this, and any one of you, obviously, that but if you need me, you for your business, if you need a help with what you're doing, if you need help with your agent attraction, you have agents, you just whatever the case may be, you need some assistance, is that I'm here, and pretty much everybody that's here on this call is here. And there are a lot of people on our team that are here that want to see each and every one of us succeed. Because like I always tell people, there's no revenue to share if there's no revenue. So we got to help families, right? So I want to thank you guys for coming again. I look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday. And refer people out, refer people to this meeting, and we're gonna keep it pushing. So thank you guys.
Welcome. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I just reached out to a past client just now and just texted to say hi. So thanks for that tip.
Bye.
All right.